Okay, so welcome everyone, and thank you for taking the time to come and join us here, coming live from our living room here in the Department of Biochemical Engineering. So the purpose of today's session is really to go through some of the amazing questions that people have been sending in regards to our undergraduate program, and some of the frequently asked questions that people have around preparing a personal statement for UCAS, some of the things that universities might be looking for on a degree like biochemical engineering, and just to help prepare you really for UCAS process ahead, especially if you want to come and study with us in UCL Biochemical Engineering. So I'm really lucky today that I'm being joined by Agnes, who is one of our second year undergraduate students on the BEng and MEng program. So she'll be able to give you a bit of a flavour of what life is like as a student on the degree programme, the kinds of things that you can get involved in. I know that Agnes has been quite active with the Institute for Chemical Engineers recently, so that's wonderful. And also to answer some of the kind of questions you have about maybe day-to-day life on the undergraduate programme, whether it's what things are like currently online or what things are normally like when we're physically present in Bernard Katz. So yeah, I'm really happy to take any questions that you might have. If you want to pop them into the chat or use the Q&A function. I think Kim has given you some instructions about how to do that now. So yeah, otherwise what we might start off with is some of the questions that people have submitted online before the event. Yeah, Kim, do you have any to kick us off with?
Yeah, I've just posted one there, which is someone who's a first year IB student. They didn't choose biology, but they knew maths, chemistry and economics. And they just asked about applying for biochemical engineering. So if you'd like to address that.
Absolutely. So you'll be able to find all of the entry requirements for the undergraduate programs on the prospective students page. One really important thing to note is that you do not need to have an A-level or an IB in biology to study on the engineering program. So biology is mandatory for the BSc in bioprocessing for the science and engineering stream, but it's not at all necessary for the engineering route. So what we are asking for the engineering programs is an A in A-level maths or the equivalent, and also 2 of the sciences. So that could be chemistry and physics, it could be chemistry and biology, it could be biology and physics, whatever combination that you are studying. That's what's most important to us, is that you have an interest in the sciences. The way that we teach biology is in a very focused and engineering focused manner when you get onto the program. Agnes, what did you study before you came to the program?
Hi guys. So I studied A-level biology, chemistry, and maths, but I have so many friends that did not take A-level biology or even IB as well. So there were modules that introduced you into the biology side of things, but as Brenda said, it is tailored into the engineering aspect and how it relates together. So what you really need is actually, as required, is the maths. And physics and chemistry will definitely help you as well. And as you said, you take economics as well. That is also a nice subject to have in the background as well, because right now we're looking at other aspects other than engineering, such as with Brenda, costing, materials, and we take into account real life situations. So that will be really helpful for you as well. And don't worry about the biology. There's a lot of assistance and material to be taught to you. So it's okay.
That's right. Yeah. So Agnes, one thing we always tell people is, maybe we often get people who don't have physics, and they're often a bit worried about that before they come into an engineering degree. And what we usually say is kind of first year is about building people up. On an interdisciplinary course, you might come with biology, you find biochemistry modules easier, but you might have to put in some more work on thermodynamics. Is that fair? Would you say that's probably about right?
Yeah. Yes. Summed it up my first year. So I did not have any experience in physics. So not that much at all. And when I tackled thermodynamics, it was quite a struggle to me. and other physics related modules. But again, they gave ample amount of assistance. And of course, you also have your professors have their own hours that you can approach and ask questions and have extra help. And always don't forget your course mates as well, because they come from different backgrounds. So you can utilize the social aspect of it. I know that we're in a pandemic and we're all online, but why don't you have study sessions together? Like study with me. I know that's a trending thing on YouTube right now, and I'm
okay.
sure that some of you have watched. Yeah, there's study with me videos where you study together online. So we've incorporated that. We stay silent sometimes and then we ask questions when required. So it's great because you're not alone technically, and you have a sense of support from your course mates as well.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Did you have a transition mentor when you started?
Yeah, transition mentors also, their transition mentors are students who are older than you by 1 or 2 years, and you can approach them on things that you're not confident with to approach with a professor, and they could lead you in the right way to approach it. They also give you tips and study advice on different things they've experienced throughout their previous year, which they can pass down on to you as well. So they're really helpful. One of my friends is a transition mentor, and I've seen how she cares for her mentee group as well. It's a really nice relationship to have. So you'll have a sense of support.
Yeah, I think in a small degree program as well, you get to know people in the different year groups quite quickly. And one of the things I think is very unique about UCL is that the hierarchy is quite flat. You know, you don't have to wait until you're a senior PhD student before you can talk to the head of department. Everyone has kind of, as you say, office hour policy. You have a personal tutor, and yeah, there's lots of kind of events and social activities to help people get to know one another as well, which I think is really important. I that's what I've always loved about the department. I studied as an undergraduate in biochemical engineering many years ago, before Agnes was even born. But there's a thought for you. But what the department has always maintained is this small and very sort of family ethos, in that, you know, people are all called by their first names. You know, there's just such a small group of people that you get to know, also kind of PhD students as well as the academic staff and your course mates. So that's really important for creating that ecosystem of support for people. So they always know kind of who they have many people they can approach when they've got, you know, questions about something that's going on. So yeah, that was a great question to start off with, because you can unpack many things out of that. But yeah, I think one of the most frequently asked questions is usually around subjects, and the reason why we keep our entry requirements quite flexible is because we appreciate it is a very unique course in terms of, you know, we're the only really one of its type in the country, and we want to welcome people with a diversity of backgrounds, because as Agnes was saying, there's so many elements to the biochemical engineering degree. It is a very interdisciplinary course. So whatever A levels you're coming with, you're going to be coming with a nice and unique viewpoint, and you've got a lot to offer us as a department as well, because you'll be thinking about things in a slightly different way. So the next question that we've got is about how difficult it is to get a job as a biochemical engineer after graduating, and how long does it normally take people to get their first job? So obviously, Agnes, you'll be maybe interested to know the answer to this as a student in the second year of the program. But one thing that's very clear, if you read any of the sort of government reports or sort of sector reports on biotechnology, cell and gene therapy, the industrial biotechnology sector, is that A, it's a growth sector, and B, there's a huge skills deficit. So these industries are really keen to recruit the kind of graduates that are coming out of biochemical engineering. So they're numerate, they're problem solvers, they have all of the kind of practical and pragmatic skills that you expect engineers to have, but they also are able to think about things in terms of the whole process, and they're able to see how the things, different elements of a process fit together. and they have a good grounding in all of the aspects that are relevant for the biotechnology sector. So that's in terms of cell culture. They understand how to grow cells, whether they're mammalian cells for a biopharmaceutical product, or whether they're algal cells for the latest kind of bioremediation project, or whether they're things like heavily engineered synthetic biology processes where you might be making a new compound or a new product. So we're well versed in this language, and we also know through our studies how to scale things up, how we take an idea from this discovery point where it's just a tiny process that happens in a lab into something that can make a meaningful difference. So whether that's delivering enough medicine to treat a certain disease, whether that's making a vaccine. Obviously, we're all very conscious of how important scaling up vaccine manufacture is at the moment as we think about COVID and what the supply chain for a vaccine might look like. So as biochemical engineers, we're quite flexible because we understand all the fundamentals and we can apply it to a different range of processes. So typically when people come out of the degree program, they may go into industry. They may start as a graduate engineer in a large company. They may go on to further study. So one really interesting aspect of our field is because it is so young and it is growing, there's so much to discover that many people end up going into PhD programs or engineering doctorates after they leave. Some people go on to other kind of further study. They might go and do a master's in a specific area. Or they may go into kind of a conversion course, something like law, or a profession that's allied to our sector, like consultancy or finance or banking, where a knowledge of something like the pharmaceutical production process is hugely advantageous because it's such an important sector financially as well. So I don't have the statistics here to hand, but perhaps Kim can share them afterwards, some of the statistics on sort of recent graduate destinations and employability. But the feedback that we have from industry is that our graduates are really highly sought after because they have this interdisciplinary skill set and they have this willingness and problem solving mentality that comes from the way that we teach on the degree course. So Agnes might be able to share some of the problem-based learning exercises that you've been doing even in year one, and how things like the integrated engineering program help give you confidence in your sort of applying your engineering knowledge. So yeah, it'd be good to hear a bit about that, Agnes.
Yeah, sure. So let me introduce to you this module we had, which is engineering challenges last year. It's a very big project because you're not only working with biochemical engineers, you're working with different departments of engineering, chemical, biomedical as well, to solve a certain problem. And this gives you, so ours was to make a vaccine plant in a specific area. So you had to apply all the knowledge that you learned through the months previously and connect it with the different aspects of engineering. But you also have to be confident in your problem solving skills so that you can, and communication skills so that you can work together to form an idea that all of you will agree on and agree that it is the most optimal solution to that. It gives you confidence in what you know and the communication skills, because, for example, I'm saying something that is understandable for biochemical engineers only and not for chemical engineers or even biomedical engineers, or even imagine mechanical engineers. They don't know what I'm saying. So you have to make it in layman's terms. So you have to connect with them. So it was really an experience because I developed all my soft skills while applying all the technical knowledge that I've learned through my degree. And it was such an experience. We even had labs, written lab reports, and we also, not just the scientific side, we also had to look at the costing and the social economical issues as well, because engineering is connecting science with reality. So you have to take into account different factors for this project. So it it really develops you as a person. So I think, well, from all my from my cohort, from what they said, it was really a challenge, an experience, and we all grew from that. So we take that experience with us up until now and apply it to whatever module we have for the second year.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. So I see there's lots of questions coming in. That's amazing. Thank you, people. This means that, you know, we have lots of things to answer, Agnes. So let's go back to the beginning of the UCAS process, where you're beginning to choose your subjects, and you're beginning to choose, based on your subjects, you're beginning to choose your degree program. And when you're right at the beginning of the UCAS process, you're probably thinking about the kind of general area that you might want to apply to. And for biochemical engineers, or people who apply to the biochemical engineering degree program, they tend to form in sort of different clusters. So we have people who are interested in sort of biochemistry and biotechnology, or some kind of maybe molecular biology, who also are interested in trying to apply this to a real world concept. So they're interested in how we can use biochemistry or biotechnology to make stuff. Or we have people who are interested in engineering, who are perhaps really interested in keeping on with maths and sciences and integrating it. And they might be applying to chemical engineering or maybe some of the other general engineering programs. So it tend to be the two main camps. We also have some people who are interested in perhaps professions related to medicine and pharmacy, who happen to stumble upon the degree program and think it sounds quite cool. They don't obviously 100% know what it's about, and you're probably, if you are one of those people, you might be here today. So let's cover, you know, what might happen if you are applying to different subjects. So first of all, Agnes, what else did you apply to on your UCAS form?
So I also applied for biochemistry, and so that's the only thing I applied for that's different from biochemical engineering. Yes, from what I remember, yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's not that long.
Time flies when you're having fun. So when people apply, they're often quite concerned because we are the only program of its kind, and they're often quite worried about, how do I write a good personal statement that hits the high notes for a university like UCL, but also means that they don't rule out any of the other choices. So first and foremost, it's important for me to tell you that we do not reject people on the basis of a personal statement. So this is particularly relevant for people who are applying to the BSc Bioprocessing, Business and Management, because typically the other programs they're applying to are straightforward business courses or kind of economics courses. And then when you start to write about sort of biotechnology, you might come across, your personal statement might seem a bit weird and unfocused. So for people who are sitting in that kind of position, I would encourage you to, well, first of all, don't worry. If you submit an application and you have fantastic predicted grades, we will contact you and maybe ask you for an additional statement just to check that we understand, that you understand what the degree program is about. But there's many ways that you can actually write a personal statement that encompass the things that we're interested in as a department, but also will kind of captivate the audience for maybe some of the other programs. So for instance, you might be thinking about biochemistry in terms of your other subjects. Just even thinking about advances in vaccines or cell and gene therapy recently, you will certainly embody, you know, some of the things that are very core to biochemistry or molecular biology or biotechnology. These are also very relevant for us. And what we're looking for is people who really understand what the potential is for biotechnology and bioengineering and all of these kind of new advances. Where are they going? And what might be needed to get there. So you could be fascinated by sort of advances in synthetic biology to make new biomaterials. That's absolutely fine by us. It's actually something we're really interested into because we work with molecular biologists, we work with synthetic biologists to turn what they're discovering, as Agnes said, we're in the business of making it kind of come true. We're in the business of scaling it up, and we're in the business of translating that research. So One term that you might come across quite a lot is the idea of applied work. So when you work in applied science, it means that you're normally focused on a problem that you want to solve. So fundamental research might look into, sort of what is DNA, but we're interested in how can we use DNA as a tool, an engineering tool, to produce complex molecules. So really, I think if you look at how broad biochemical engineering is, we do encompass aspects of sort of medicine, of course, because we work quite closely with clinicians and we work quite closely with people who are sort of doing clinical trials, as well as maybe working with patients in hospitals. And we are, interfacing with many different aspects. So as long as you can kind of show to us that you're interested in a field that's allied to biochemical engineering, that's what we're most curious to see. But what we're more curious about is to know about you. One of the really important aspects that we're looking for at a place like UCL is, are you going to be a leader in future? Do you show commitment to the things that you get involved in? Are you inclusive? Are you adventurous? Are you interested in how the world works and helping people? A lot of people come to biochemical engineering because they're very altruistic. They want to make the world a better place. And they see that their role may not be as a doctor, or, it may not be as a vet, but they may like to be working somewhere around that area in order to help people. And that's a massive motivator. I don't know, Agnes, can you remember what you wrote in your personal statement now? Probably not.
I do actually. Because my little brother is actually applying for university this year, so it was such a flashback. So I'm helping him right now. So what did I write? I wrote about how I was fascinated about the processes used when I visited this biopharmaceutical company, and the step-by-step process they used to develop a drug or a vaccine. And I really wanted to know more deeper into that. And I also talked about, I don't know if, so for A-levels, there's this research project, individual research project you can do over the summer. I'm sure in other, like in IB, you may have something similar. So I did something around stem cell research, focusing on a specific type of stem cell to grow into liver-like cells. So I was really interested in that area, and I saw that biochemical engineering can contribute to that sector as well. And I wasn't sure if I really wanted to specialize into stem cells at that time. So I wanted to take biochemical engineering because you can do research into that, see how it's connected to other sectors, and possibly scale it up to become a novel therapeutic. So it was really interesting. I know that we're in a pandemic and some students are worried about not getting much experience, but you all have some experience. You have a sport, a club, a passion, or maybe a hobby that you do. All you have to do is connect what you learn from these experiences, connect it with the passion of the sector that biochemical engineering is in, and put that in your personal statement and see how, and tell us how you can combine these, apply the degree into the real world as well. Yeah. We need I guess we would like the passion of the students as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
People who've got initiative, and people who, as Agnes mentioned, there's some difficult times, and if you're doing something extraordinary to help people around you, that's exactly the kind of thing we would love to know about. I do get asked quite often, are people expected to have work experience? And the answer is no. And the answer is no for two reasons. One is it's quite difficult as an A-level student to get a foot in the door of a giant pharmaceutical company if you don't happen to even have one nearby you. And second of all, I think you can have an interest in a subject like this without having visited a physical plant, which is, again, it's not something even most people have done. So how can you kind of find out more? I mean, we've put, in the last few months, we've put up some taster lectures from some of the researchers and staff in our department to tell you a bit about the kind of work that we do. You can certainly read online. Lots of the kind of big journals like Nature and Science have fantastic blogs and resources, you know, where you might find out about new developments in biotechnology. There's lots of different websites that you can, you know, keep up with advances in things like synthetic biology. So certainly by reading widely, you can learn quite a lot about our sector, and you can also find out a lot about what is happening and then, you know, at the cutting edge of science, and where you might like to kind of position yourself. I mean, obviously when you're 18, things could change quite a lot, and that's also why, you know, the degree, as you go on, you can begin to specialize and build your pathway, but at the beginning you're taught all of the fundamentals, then you can maybe, you know, as things evolve, you can decide for yourself. I think when you get into the program, there'll be opportunities to do sort of internships and get experience that way. And we have a final year in industry program, which is really exciting. It's been such a success since we launched it a few years ago, where we partner with companies, and you spend your 4th year working in the company, conducting a research project. This has been a fantastic foot in the door for many people to go on and work for the person or the company that they've been spending a year with, or simply just to gain valuable experience, which they then decide to take into a PhD program in a field that's related to what they were working on in industry. So as you get into the department, really one of our big goals is to network you with our alumni, to bring in industrial speakers. Yeah, maybe Agnes, I don't know if you want to comment on this, like the kind of people that you might have been already exposed to on the program.
So yes, so in this program, you will definitely get connected with our alumni. I'm also part of Crook Society, so it's the Undergraduate Society for Biochemical Engineering. We connect with our alumni from previous years and invite them to have a network session or a career talk with our undergrad students. So they give us questions, and we had an alumni. She came from investment banking, and we have another one in the talks. So it was really interesting. They come from different sectors, and they really want to share their experience working in that sector. And they're also offering to have a connection with you either through LinkedIn or through their email. They will help you answer your questions and how to apply for a job, or what are any life experience basically from graduation to career. So it's a really nice relationship to have. As you said, Brenda, it is really a family-like feeling within our department. So it was really nice. It's being maintained even though they're physically not in UCL.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big joys as well, is to bring our alumni back and get them to teach like a specialist session. So yeah, for instance, this week we had a guy come back who's a bioprocess engineer working in the industry, and he was lecturing about safety and all of the kind of amazing case studies from his own work. We have a really fascinating question, which is interesting because we're both here as two ladies from the Department of Biochemical Engineering, where someone was asking about gender and getting employed as a biochemical engineer. And what are is it quite difficult as a woman to be working in, I mean, engineering, I think traditionally has been quite a male-dominated field. But really, this is not quite the case when you get to biochemical engineering, because we have pretty much gender parity in the undergraduate programs, and certainly sort of women are really well represented, within the PhD cohort and also within the teaching staff and academic researchers. So within our department, I mean, UCL's ethos is highly inclusive and highly diverse. So, I mean, this is something we're very much committed to as an institution, but also as a department as well. But when you get out into industry, I have never heard of anyone kind of encountering difficulties because of their gender. I have to say it's because, again, as I mentioned, there's such a skills gap. You're really highly sought after and respected for the skills that you've got. Now, obviously, there's different ways that you can enter into the sector. You might enter into a career in sort of research and development, where you might be highly lab-based. You might go to an engineering firm as a graduate, where you might be looking a lot at sort of the design process and sort of specifying a facility and designing it from the bottom up. Or, you know, you could be going in, you know, on the kind of manufacturing angle, where you might be heavily involved in some of the scale up and quite hardcore engineering within a company. Or you may be in a startup, actually, where you end up doing quite a lot of different things all at once, because that's kind of the mentality of a biotech startup. You might have to be doing a bit of finance one day and a bit of lab work another, which, you know, I think is quite exciting. So people do enter the sector with the BEng degree. People do, sometimes they want to stay for the MEng because they would quite like to have a research project as well as the design project. And they feel like having that extra year just gives them a bit of time to, again, specialize and position themselves within a particular sector. And again, as I mentioned, a lot of people go on for a PhD, but that's not necessary to be able to get a job in biochemical engineering. Many people go in with a kind of BEng or MEng, or straight from the BSc program into companies and start working. I think the trend is nowadays people like to have a master's, but again, this is not something you need to decide really up front. I think this process is much more organic, as when you get to year 3 and you're considering your options, what you're interested in, what you're good at, and where you would like to go. And I think that will help you decide if you need to do postgraduate study or not. But certainly along the way, we'll try and network you again, as we were mentioning, with as many people as possible, so that you can see the opportunities that are coming up for graduate biochemical engineers. Jobs are global, which is another part of this question, is they want to know where you can work. Obviously, Oxford, Cambridge, London, this golden triangle is massively hot for biotech, medical science research. I mean, probably this corridor along the Euston Road, just outside of UCL, has probably got the highest concentration of bioscientists anywhere in the planet. So it's an enormously exciting time to be in London, and also because of the startup scene in the incubator spaces, but also you know, in places like Open Cell, where there's a lot of kind of really interesting entrepreneurship happening. So a lot of the large industries, yes, are in the north. So you've obviously got places like the Centre for Process Innovation, and some of the very large manufacturing facilities are in the north. But people work all over the world. I mean, with huge manufacturing bases in places like Singapore, a growing industry in places like China, but many countries are looking to expand their own biotech sector. So we get a lot of applicants from all over the world who really say, you know, I'm from this country, I can see that, you know, this is going to become important, that we begin to make our own medicines, or we begin to clean our environment. And I want to be able to go back to my own country and contribute to that, as, you know, as someone who might be at the very beginning of a sector emerging. So huge amounts of social mobility. You know, if you want to travel and work, fantastic opportunities in unexpected places. Iceland is probably one of the most exciting biotech countries in the world right now, because they're expanding a lot of operations in that country. Ireland, many companies expanding and manufacturing sites in the south of Ireland. So yeah, you name it, you can probably go wherever you wish with the degree, if you want to stay, you know, working in the kind of manufacturing or bioprocess sector. So maybe just to round up, because I can see we're kind of coming sort of to a close, but Oisin has a question about sort of what is life like when you get to biochemical engineering? What can you describe a sort of week in the life?
A week in the life? Okay, so this is a week in the life post-pandemic, like pandemic, or
maybe in year 1, yeah, because obviously we're in kind of funny phase at the moment, but maybe, yeah,
okay,
maybe describe, yeah, sort of what a typical, there's no typical week, we know this, but what might be a week?
No.
Happen in a week?
Okay.
In
Yeah.
year 1.
Okay, so I'll summarize a week in the life. This could be like a YouTube vlog, to be honest. Like week in the life of a biochemical engineer from UCL. So basically, you will have lectures which will be taught to you in a regular classroom, so that you could know the knowledge, the basic knowledge. You'll have the foundation, and then you will also have lab practicals, especially for biochemistry related modules, or for example, you're going to have a project where you're having a small scale equipment of a bioreactor. So a bioreactor is where you grow the cells, basically, and you can design the parameters of this bioreactor and how to optimize cell growth. So that could be an example of a lab practical for you. Lab practicals and lectures tend to take around 2 hours. And other than that, there's of course societies and clubs which you can join in career talks. On Wednesdays, for most universities, we finish early so that you can attend anything that you've signed up for. Most of our career sessions are on Wednesday, so you can talk with our alumni. Some societies have social events as well. So it's really active on a Wednesday. Oh, sports event as well. If you're interested in sports events usually happen on a Wednesday, which is quite good. Keep fit. And on Friday, we usually have, as I said, social events from different societies. It's really nice. It's a really nice life. And since you're in the center of London, like, you can have, if you walk 5 minutes down that way, you'll smell some amazing food from a food stall that you've never seen before, but it's just there and you really want it. Or you can walk 5 minutes that way and there's a whole library with that you could enter for free, and it's a really nice place. So other than the academics in a week, you can explore the London vibe. And just not to, I mean, university life is not just about learning, though it's really, really important. It's also about forming connections with different people. So within that week, I had a fun time applying the learning that I did, and also socializing with different people that I met through my first year. It was really great.
Just before we go, because talking of extracurriculars, do you want to describe what you've been doing with the Institute of Chemical Engineers?
Oh, okay. So basically, the Institute of Chemical Engineers had a competition. So it's a competition about where you write an article and you submit a creative project, which could be a poster or a video or anything that you like, about process safety. So as an engineer, it is really important that you are minimizing the risk of all the processes that you've designed. So in Institute of Chemical Engineering, they have these loss prevention bulletins. It's like a magazine or a bulletin filled with past occurrences of accidents or ways on how engineers solved a process safety problem, so that in the future, future engineers can be reminded of the lessons that we've learned from the past. So my partner and I, her name's Aditi Holy, we decided to enter this competition around March, April. So I really like doing graphic design and video editing on the side, other than being a biochemical engineer, of course. I really like it. So Aditi and I wrote a paper on basically Legionnaire's disease. Legionella is a bacteria that you can find in stagnant water systems and can cause a certain disease. And I made the video. So we submitted this animated video and the article together, and we won runner-up, and our article was published in the October 2020 issue for Loss Prevention Bulletin. It was really such an experience because other than applying the knowledge, we developed our soft skills, because my partner is from a different time zone. So we had to collaborate, make sure we were on schedule, on time management. And it also developed our interests as well. Aditi wanted to improve her writing skills in making an article, research paper, and I wanted to improve on what I like, which is video editing as well on the side. So it was a really great experience to me.
I think it was tremendous. And you know what, it's a great example of what we call at UCL the connected curriculum. So this is about students as researchers and contributing to research life. And I thought the article was highly relevant for me. I work on algal systems, so I'm working with microalgae quite a lot, and one of our interests is how might we be able to incorporate photobioreactors into buildings. And I was always really interested in what kind of risks might we have to consider if we were working with aqueous systems within a built environment. And I think it's really tremendous that to empower students to realize that, you know, you can produce new knowledge which actually, you know, I could use. I might, you know, I'm not all, teaching is not only about me emptying my brain and giving it to you, but it's about this idea of co-creation, which I'm so excited about. And this is why, you know, I teach a year 2 course on design. Every year we have new ideas that come out from the creativity of the students, and quite often we're able to support them to then go on into the lab and maybe research these themselves. And I think that journey, to me, in a small department is really important. And I think no matter what degree program you guys are thinking of applying to, my advice to you would be to really understand what are the opportunities around learning. You can learn so much online for free, as we all know now. You know, Khan Academy is your friend. So what exactly does a degree program give you in addition? What are the unique features? Is it the people, the network, the lab time, you know, the really bespoke aspects of learning? I think those are the most important. And no matter which program or which open day you go to, these are the kind of questions you should be asking, you know, from any university or any institution, is what makes a program special and unique, and how will I stand out as a graduate when I leave? You know, given how many people go to university and study subjects like this, what you want to have reassurance of is that, you know, the experiences that you'll get, the ability to tailor your module and choose certain electives or minors if you're on the engineering program, those are all of the things that will add up to making you a distinctive candidate when you go out into the world. But also enrich your university experience. What you really want to have the opportunity is to try lots of new stuff and get a flavour of what real life is like, whether it's in industry or whether it's in research or academia. So I think we've pretty much covered anything. Agnes, is there anything else you would like to give as advice for people who are maybe just finishing off their UCAS forms now? What little piece of advice could you offer them?
So I guess my piece of advice is to take it all in stride. I remember when I was applying for university, so I'm actually from the Philippines, so my family and I moved here, and I learned a lot of things in terms of culture and what the students usually do here. And I realized, oh, what if I don't have any experience? Oh, what if I'm not knowledgeable in that area because I came from a different educational background? All you have to remind yourself is that you're doing your best from the experiences that you've gained. Everyone is unique, so do not try to compare what you've done to what other people have done as well, because your experience is unique, as I said, and you can apply that to your personal statement, to your application. So just do not overthink, basically. Take it all into account. And once you've done your personal statement and set up your application, all I could give you is all the advice I could give you is just to study hard, study well, but make sure that you're also taking into account your mental health and physical as well, because that will be a big factor in terms of exams in next year. So yeah, take care.
That's amazing advice. Thank you, Agnes. And the only thing I would add is to not lose your passion for the things that you're interested in. So a lot of people write these magnificent UCAS statements and then they get focused on passing exams, but really keep an open eye, keep using your initiative, keep delving in and looking for new opportunities, reading around you and reading broadly, not just focusing on, your exams. It's really important that you keep the big picture and you stay enthusiastic, so you don't arrive at university tired. You arrive at university with a kind of, enthusiasm and a willingness to get started and to embark on a whole new course and a whole new way of studying. because life is really quite different when you arrive at university compared to A-levels. So I think that's all from us, I guess. And yeah, if you have any other questions, and I guess some people may still have things that they might want to know, you can drop us a line. I think Kim will maybe send out my email address, so if people want to get in touch, and they can, yeah, drop me an email with any other questions that they might have, or things that they may not want to have talked about in the forum, but they might be still wanting to know. So yeah, we're here to answer whatever we can via email later on, and yeah, as I said, there's many different ways you can reach us, either through like sending admissions questions or watching some of the content on our website, so you get a better feel for all the aspects that go on in the program. Okay.
Great. So just very quickly, thank you for filling in the poll. It's just so it'd be interesting to know which programs people were interested in applying for. We've got a spread between the BSc programs and the MEng and BEng, which is great. It's really good to know that there's a wide spread of interest there. That's fantastic. I've sent a link for the questionnaire. If you could fill that in. It should only take a couple of moments, but it's really good to know if there's anything we can change or how it all worked. It's fantastic. There's another question that came in about admissions. Please email us directly. We're more than happy to help with that. Yeah. But it's probably better for something that's quite specific like that to get in touch with us directly. The email address will have been in the email that you got sent, but I'll send a link afterwards with a link to this recording, and it'll have our contact details in there as well. But thank you very much for joining us. I hope you have a great afternoon. Thank you, Brenda. Brenda, those new glasses frames.
Yeah. I realised
they look very pretty.
They're really nice. I think I'll take advantage of nice new frames as well. But thank you very much for joining. It's been great, and get in touch if you have any more questions. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you everyone. All the best for your studies, and yeah, hopefully we will see you in Bernard Katz next year, all being well. Okay, good luck with everything.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.